Training. Go live in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dopamine, the show that is like a tiger chasing its tail. Adorable, but fierce. Today on the show, I wanted to talk about using your mental health as creative inspiration. This is a topic I thought about this morning while listening to music. I listen to a lot of music. Let me move up a little bit. I listen to a lot of music that is it kind of matches my mindset and my mood a little bit. I'm sure everybody does this in a lot of ways. I think there are a lot of people who just listen to pop music and don't really think about it. But for me, music and the music that I make and all sorts of things that I just create for the sake of creating, it comes out as an expression of my mental health and the stories of my life that have led to that. So we're going to take a little time and talk about that. And yeah, let's kick it off.
Drums, please.
Okay, thanks for joining me today. I got a little bit of a mobile setup going here, so for those of you watching the video version, it's a little janky, but it's still working. It still looks good. I got to figure out a way to do like color grading on the fly and stuff like that. So I'm going to sit forward a little bit. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about using your mental health as creative inspiration, and this is something that I find very interesting because I think when it comes to business, when it comes to like kind of day-to-day life, you know, we kind of initially approach mental health as like suppressing it, but I find that things tend to go a little bit better when you can start to find ways to embrace that this is a part of your life, that you're dealing with mental health struggles, and this is like the reality that you're in, that you're going to be continuing to face, you know, depression, ADHD, uh, different kinds of PTSD or complex PTSD, or different kinds of mental health issues as you go throughout your life. And I think as we start to learn and grow and develop our understanding of our mental health issues and what that is, we can start to really dive into the little nuances and those little things that we can take with us into our creative projects, whether it's painting or music or making t-shirts or coaching people, uh, things of that nature, especially when you're doing things that are solely for the expression of creativity. You know, if you're, I don't know, you're painting tiles or doing sketches or ink art or anything like that, there are elements of your mental health that you can take into account with this. Let me know if the music's too loud. I can hear it pretty loud, but I think it's gonna be okay. Actually, I'll let me fix this real quick while we're still talking. Try to go a little lower. Nope, that's as low as I can go. Okay, so I'll just lower it on my end. So basically, what I'm talking about here, and I'm recording this live on Facebook, by the way. So I'm recording it live on my personal page, and then I'm going to be posting it onto the Dopamine Facebook page and onto our group, which is the Dopamine Support for Mental Health and Mental Health Support for Creatives and Entrepreneurs, which is a really great space. Anyway, and in the future, if you guys want to do a mid-roll sponsor, hit me up, and then I can throw it in the middle of these, and we'll do that. Anyway, to go back to creativity as it pertains to your mental health, for me, I find ways to channel my mental health issues through the music that I listen to. I listen to a lot of like darker things. I mean, I go all over the place, but the things that really resonate the best with me are lyrics that kind of dive into the soul a bit. In terms of like more darker things, I listen to a lot of Alkaline Trio, which is, they're an older band, but um, I, their stuff and their lyrics dealing with like darker things, more gothic type stuff are things that I kind of resonate with, and that's stuff that is starting to come out in my creative expression. So if you go to soundcloud.com/swing for the fences, you can see more of my music, or listen to it rather, and kind of get a sense for how I'm using it in my creative expression. Molly does it really well. Also, the Darling Rage on Instagram, she does it really well in the sense that she will kind of just express her feelings through her paintings, and you can see a lot of that, especially as it's starting to evolve and she's starting to find more of her individualism. Um, so I thought about this topic as I was actually listening to Alkaline Trio this morning, and they a lot of musicians really find ways to poetically interpret their art, but it doesn't necessarily have to be poetic. It doesn't have to be paintings in that sort of sense. It just can be in terms of how you are embracing creativity as well. Um, in terms of just kind of like taking stock in your mental health. How do I feel most of the time? And then maybe trying to find ways to lean into it a little bit. And what I mean by lean into it is instead of repressing it, instead of like, oh my God, I feel terrible, let me listen to happy, sappy pop music all the time. Maybe try something that's a little bit different. Maybe try something that speaks to you emotionally so that can help prompt you and work through those emotions. And then through that, you can kind of learn ways to express it yourself as well. Um, whatever your medium is, if it's through dance, it could be through, again, painting or music. Those are the things that keep coming to mind. Um, and just finding ways to, really express how you feel and not how you think you should present yourself. That's that's kind of the big difference there. I think is that a lot of people can feel like they want to mask their emotions, mask their mental health, mask their difficulties. But uh, my life has been changing so much for the better since I've been embracing the difficulties that I've been facing with mental health. I've recorded 2 albums. I haven't put them out there yet, but I need to finish mixing and mastering them. But as I started to embrace my mental health journey and realize that it's something that I need to look at instead of repress, I started to make music more again. And I made an entire album that expressed a difficulty that I was dealing with early 2016, maybe 2015 to 2016, and then towards the end of 2017 as well. Um, I made an album called 30 Days in June, which you can listen to the entirety of the album at Swing for the Fences, soundcloud.com/Swing for the Fences. It's not finished with its recording and everything and mastering and stuff, but you can give it a listen and you can hear a lot of what's going into that. So to talk a little bit more about what went into that, I was having a situation where my marriage wasn't going very well, and I unfortunately was starting to reach outside the marriage for support, for emotional support. Um, that started to become more than just friends, and that became a problem. So I started to use this album and the creation of this album as a means of expressing every little nuance and a emotional happening that was going on inside of me because I didn't really know how to express it any other way. My expressions of emotions come out very rudimentary. So music is a way for me to kind of dive into the complexity of emotions a little bit more than I normally would through conversation or anything that's kind of like this, where I'm just winging it and talking about it. Music, I can kind of take a little bit more time and think about the feeling of the chords and the chorus and the verses and what I'm going to write and how to sing it and kind of let out those emotions. So you could feel a lot of that in the music that I've done recently, and and then the tone kind of shifted as I started to work on the second album, which is called A Monster. and that was an album that is a mix of expressing positive gratitude for having Molly in my life and all of the depth of my life changing in a positive way, but also still dealing with mental health issues and still dealing with some depth and complexity as things start to evolve and change in my life. So, the music changes as I start to develop and grow. And I imagine it's the same for anybody who's going through any kind of emotional growth. You're working through these ideas, you're working through different ways of executing those ideas, and really, if it's about expressing your feelings to the outside world, as you start to mature and learn new things, your work is going to mature and change as well. Uh, and there should not be any fear in sharing the beauty in those details. I I love that more than anything. I love seeing the growth of an artist, of a creator of any kind, whether it's through YouTube and vlogging or music, painting, anything of that sort. I love seeing the creative growth and expression. You don't necessarily want to cover up your past. I like to be able to look back at my past and say, wow, that was a different time. I was thinking different things. I was almost a different person. And you kind of just see how far you've come. I look at that in my graphic design work. I look at um, my work from 10, 15 years ago, and things have changed drastically, not in just what I think is cool, but in how I use graphic design to subtly interpret what both the client wants and how I want to artistically express things. And that has changed over time, little by little. So that feeling is pretty cool to see that you've come a long way, to see that there are, consistent changes in your life and that you're growing. And I think through being honest with yourself, through your artistic expression, through your creativity, you can see that honest development. You can see that honest growth and change. So while you can kind of see the growth and change throughout this podcast because I'm just kind of like stumbling through it. I get a little distracted by the birds outside though too. They're very loud. Um, and but through that artistic expression, you just it's about that evolution and allowing yourself uh, to 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 just let things be, and to put it out there and then just change it next time. If you want to make something a little bit better, make a new one, make the next one, and you can go back and refine some things that are incomplete. But if I were to go back now and completely change the first album that I haven't released yet, it wouldn't be true to the expression of the time that I was trying to express, or the emotions I was trying to express at the time. It would not be honest. I would have to go back into that place to recreate that album or recreate a um, different tone, I guess. And I just don't want to do that. I'm not there anymore, So allowing yourself to move forward and to grow creatively and to let that coincide with your mental health journey. If you're having bad days and you write a song, it's going to come out differently than if things are going well. And maybe you want to express that. That's all I'm saying. Maybe you want to show that to the world and let people know that that is it how this feels. Some people don't necessarily, and I'm looking at my phone real quick if you're watching the video version so I can see so I can try to see some comments because I don't think anything's popping up on my personal feed. But I would really like to. Oh, what up, Kate Mackey? Good to see you. Um, yeah, so not everything's showing up. Okay. Um, I forgot what I was talking about. That happens all the time. Uh, but um, point being that if you're expressing yourself, if you're working through different kinds of emotions, and your life is changing, you need to embrace those changes. I love seeing the little details. I love seeing how how someone has gone from A to P to C, Um, and again, like I was mentioning before, even with this podcast, I came into this, I had no idea what I wanted to express. I just knew I had an idea. I knew I wanted to talk about using your mental health as creative expression. And I don't know, I just kind of wing it and do it. And if I want to do another episode where I feel like the thought is refined, I will come back and do another episode. So, I mean, that's kind of how I do things. I'm sure there are some people that want to be a little bit more buttoned up. They want to present themselves as a little bit more put together to the world, and that's totally fine. You can absolutely do that too. I personally prefer to see all the nooks and crannies and crevices and all the little nuances of all the stuff that you're dealing with. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Um, but for me, it has been helpful for me to express externally how I feel through this podcast, through talks with people, through my music, Swing for the Fences, soundcloud.com/swing for the fences. I will pimp it again. And you can hear some of the depth of things that I've been dealing with through the last 2, 3 years. Um, Again, 30 Days in June, something I'm very, very proud of. It's not done yet, but you can listen to the current version of it over at soundcloud.com/swing for the fences. Um, and really, the general theme of that album is that if you are dealing with any kind of complicated relationship where you're kind of looking for a quick fix and it happens to be another person, that is kind of what that album is about. And then the newer one, A Monster, is a little bit more about working with development and growth and a new positive support system, but still also dealing with the depth of mental health. And that's the problem that I face right now is that I feel like things should be good, and they are in so many ways, but mental health is mental health, and you're going to deal with struggles and difficulties. I want to work towards putting on shows again. I want to play. I have only done one show in my life, and I want to be able to play acoustic shows in front of people. I want to be able um, to do these lives without being nervous, because I'm definitely nervous about doing these lives. I'm nervous about continuing to put myself out there. But as I continue to do this, as I continue to be comfortable with the reality of the sloppiness that comes with my mental health, um, I just kind of embrace it and I go and I show the best side of me. And that's really what art and creativity is about, isn't it? It's about finding ways to authentically express yourself. So for me, that is, you know, not putting a mask on anymore. And nobody who is dealing with mental health issues should feel like they have to put on a mask, that they should have to hide from society, that they should hide or mask their creativity from anyone, their family, their friends, their mentors. We should not feel like this aspect of who we are is something that we should hide. And I hope that you and I can continue to learn to embrace that we can learn to just be honest with ourselves about how we feel and find ways to express that in a healthy way and express that to each other, express that through music and art. I mean, that's why art exists, because there are nuances of feeling, of life, of emotions towards people, towards family, towards wives and girlfriends and ex-girlfriends and ex-wives and all sorts of things and complex stuff in our lives um, that we that we have to find ways to express beyond just saying I'm sad or I'm depressed. There are that creating art as an expression of that is something that you can give to the world for generations to come. Somebody could, the reason, okay, so the reason I create stuff, the reason I have this podcast, the reason I have my music, the reason I make t-shirts, the reason I do anything is just the hope that I can change one person. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm not trying to be bigger than I can even handle. I just want to help people. I just want to express myself, and I just want to let people know that you're not alone, and you should never feel alone. And that's the plan. That's the idea. So I hope that you can basically take this and pass it on and express that through some form of creativity of your own. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't have to be prop making. It doesn't have to be painting. It could be however. You can go into the streets and yell. Don't do that. You'll probably get in trouble. But in a place that you could, do it safely and not get arrested. Just go and express yourself. Go do something. Go have some fun, and uh, and work through what you got to work through. Be real about it. If you got to listen to sad music to get there, then fucking listen to sad music. Don't let anyone stop you. Jorge says you are a gift to this world, my friend. You are too, sir. My friend Jorge is such a good dude. Um, and we talk about this stuff all the time. When I talk to the camera, I actually feel like I'm talking to him a lot because we have these kinds of conversations, and it's really good to work through this with people. If you're unsure about how to even start expressing yourself creatively, talk to a friend, get some ideas on how you should go about it. Um, Joy Idris says that she has started writing her book, and that's good. Yeah, writing is also another creative expression, whether that's through writing a book or poetry. Um, I've got two books that I've started that have been sitting on the shelf for uh, 2 years now. I got a couple long term projects that I need to finish, and I'm a little bit scared to finish them, I guess. Um, but actually, what I need to do is get a recording space so I can do vocals. That's what's been holding me back, unfortunately. But with the writing stuff, I guess another aspect that I can talk about is the fact that we're all dealing with real life. We're dealing with the the pressure of bills and with other people in our lives providing pressure. Sometimes it could be our spouse, sometimes it's our parents, sometimes it's friends who are so entrenched in a way of being that they don't understand your desire to be an artist or an entrepreneur or creator of some kind. Uh, it is it's hard. You want to feel supported, you want to feel loved, and you do have to go out and find those people that are going to help give you the right support. Um, but then learn learn to connect with those people. Find one or two people in your life that if you're feeling stuck, they can maybe you can collaborate with them. Maybe you can find ways to ask them how you should express something. Maybe you're a person, and this is a problem I've had, that I feel like there needs to be more pragmatism with a lot of the things that I do. Not to say that creating art is not pragmatic, but um, it's the reason I went into graphic design. I'm trying to basically get the most out of everything that I do. And by that I mean is like if I'm creating art, I want to be a little bit more sure that it's going to make money somehow, some way. So I'm not really good at just making things for the sake of making things, and that's something I need to work on for myself. That's part of my expression. That's part of where I'm at in life, and hopefully you'll be able to see more of that in the near future. Um, but I think for the most part, that's kind of where I want to wrap up today. So using your mental health as creative expression, that's to kind of create a synopsis for that. It's like being honest with yourself, searching within your emotions, your mental state, and looking for other points of expression that fit how you feel, and then finding ways to reinterpret that into something that you can create and put your own stamp on. Whether that again, that's through music. For me, that was through music for SoundCloud.com/Swing for the Fences, and you can hear a lot of what was going on in that for me. Um, and really just finding ways to connect with people, really finding ways to, maybe you need to collaborate with people, maybe you need to get together with friends and talk through it so that you can find ways to express it. Maybe you need to go talk to if maybe pragmatism is something that is getting in your way, maybe you need to turn it into a business so that you can find ways to express it more pragmatically, like I was saying. um, but again, where there's a will, there's a way. So you just gotta dive in. You just gotta make it happen. You just gotta try, and start with pen to paper. Start with just do something. anything that'll make you feel good, and or feel bad. Again, part of it is also you might have to just kind of dive further into the mess. I listen to music that doesn't necessarily feel good, but it matches my mood, and that helps me work through those emotions. So it's different for everyone, but I think if you're trying to create something, you might need to dive further into that rabbit hole just a little bit. Think about it as spelunking versus jumping off a cliff. And you know, find a way to, I don't know, if you feel like you're scared about getting suicidal by diving too deep into something, tell a friend. Make sure someone knows that you're doing this, and have the support. It's easier when you have the support, for sure. If you feel alone and you dive deeper, it can get dangerous. So just be careful with that. Um, so yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys have a pleasant day. For those of you watching live, and if you are not watching live, you can follow me on facebook.com/rival design. That's my personal Facebook page. And you can go to facebook.com/dopamine podcast to get the video replay of this, which I will post eventually. And then there's a YouTube channel. Just look up dopamine, and some other things that are slowly expanding and growing as I think this thing becomes a more viable and interesting thing. So uh, thank you guys for listening and watching. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a good one. Peace.